All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to session one of MechWarrior Destiny, Salvaged Destiny. I'm the Game Master, Dare Wolf, and joining me today are just BAMF people that I play games with online and convince them to play this crazy giant robot MechWarrior game with me. And I'm gonna put them through the ringer. Both today and every session moving forward. So I'm very excited. But enough out of this old hound dog. We're gonna go down to the players. We're gonna meet them, and they're gonna tell us a little about themselves, their characters, and then we're gonna dive into some MechWarrior Destiny. Let's start with Anders. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your character.
Hi, I'm Anders. Anders doesn't really matter. Everybody mispronounces it, including me.
Damn it! I've already
I'm
screwed up. Game ruined.
yeah, I'm a pretty heavy BattleTech nerd, but also general sci-fi. And I'm playing as Lawrence, a member of the Federated Commonwealth, specifically a Lyran. So he's a bit Chuman, but the accent will probably come and go as it pleases. And yeah, very headstrong, very much a military man. Not good with computers, but we have other people for that. So that's on them. And yeah, looking forward to getting this started.
Hell yeah, Strom, fill us in.
Yeah, hi, I'm Strom or Strom Plays here on Twitch and YouTube. My experience with MechWarrior is I have looked at the pretty pictures and played MechWarrior online long enough to get blowed up, and so I'm all in on MechWarrior, as it were. I'll be playing Willow Arthur Byrne, who he's a character. You'll see.
I like it. I like it. Steve, fill us in, dude.
I'm Steve, completely new to MechWarrior and most of the BattleTech universe, apart from playing the Microprose game in 2001, I think it was. I'll be playing as Cyprian, who is son of a military man from a very military family. But he is not very military at all. He's more of a tinkerer and a thinker.
Excellent. Excellent. And last and certainly least, we're going to hear from Aaron. There it is.
Yeah, I hate you. I hate you so much. All right. Hey guys, yeah, I'm Aaron. I've been a fan of BattleTech and MechWarrior for close to 30 years. Yeah, I'm pretty old. I'm going to be playing Callum Van Buren. He is currently a resident in the Federated Commonwealth, but was originally from the Free Rasselhag Republic until the clan invasion saw that realm virtually annihilated. He's, as far as I can tell, a fairly quiet, unassuming individual, but who is fiercely loyal to anybody who fights at his side.
So a man of honor, and a man that.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay, that's fair. A man that is a man that exists, and may or may not have feelings. He's not admitting to it because that's how he lives his life, which is glorious. So
He's a very manly man.
he's a manly man. Well, kind of. Don't put words into his mouth. So we open our scene with a overview shot of a somewhat desert mountainous region, and the sun is just starting to crest the edge of the horizon. It is very, very, very early in the morning, and I say sun even though it's not Earth. It's a star. It's a star of this galaxy, right? Or this solar system. That's where we're at. We had this whole conversation yesterday. I digress. So we watch as the sun starts to crest, and as these rays of light begin to, you can actually watch them flow over this rocky, somewhat, orangish kind of dirt looking clay. And as it starts to rise, it hits the side of a large metallic building. And you watch as the sun rises up, and it's almost as though a curtain is raising up. And as you watch this curtain raise up, you see on the side of this building is a giant blue circle with a red ring inside, this yellowish kind of spiky circle around it, and then a clenched fist, a giant gauntlet. And below that is written Kentares IV Delta Company. And as the sun rises up, you see that this entire building appears to be some sort of base or hangar of some sorts. And from inside, you start to hear the clanging of hammers on metal. You hear that telltale sign or telltale sound of sparks from welders. And as we pivot around to the front of the building, you see a massive garage door is open. And inside you see these enormous, almost unbelievably large robots, these mechs. And you see that there are a good dozen or so people that are running around. You see ammunition being loaded, these massive looking shells. You see these large tubes that come off and are plugged into it as they're being filled with plasma and all different manner of power, etc. And in the center of this hangar, we see a couple of interesting individuals, and they are just kind of doing their job, milling about, and standing in front of each of these massive multi-ton mechs. We see the players, and I'd like to start with, let's start with Callum. Actually, you are standing next to Richie. Richie is one of the head mech techs here. There's two. There's Richie, and along with Richie, there is Dina. And both of them kind of, one works the left side of the hangar, the other works the right side of the hangar. That's just how it is. They're in command of the, the underling mech techs, as it were. And he's sitting there and he's looking up at this massive mech, this wolfhound in front of him, and he's just ever so slightly rubbing his beard. And I want you to take a moment, Aaron, and describe your character, and then we'll progress the scene.
Yeah. Callum is in his early 20s. He's got a dark hair, dark complexion. Marred is his face, while generally good looking, is marred by several scars that he gained during his time as a refugee during the clan invasion. He's, by all accounts, fairly serious and severe looking, but when dealing with people, he does have the acumen to be personable, especially when dealing with his mech techs. He has a deep appreciation for people who support his ability to be a mech warrior.
I love it. And as you are standing there alongside Richie, Richie's got his hand up to his chin. He's just got this very short kind of beard. He's got reddish hair on top, but his beard's a little bit darker. It's got like a brown to it. And he's always wearing just a little bit of a smirk in the corner of his mouth. He's just looking up at this wolfhound, and he, in a very kind of joking tone, he just looks over his shoulder and he says, I don't know why they call it a wolfhound. It kind of more looks like a puppy.
Well, I didn't name it. I have no idea.
Well,
but it's 35 tons of walking death. You can't call it a puppy.
I mean, just hear me out here. Just hear me out. Hear me out. What if it was bigger?
Well, if it was bigger, it wouldn't be a scout mech, would it?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I've always been curious how they got their names, right? Like, I fix them, and I fix them all the time, and they bring them back broken, and then I put them back together. But you ever just wondered, like, why? Right? Like, why? I mean, not why. I mean, we know why. We've read history, right? But like, why? But why wolfhound? I mean, it kind of looks like a wolf, but more maybe like it's got like a beak thing. Could be like a pelican. Like a pelican feels more accurate than. I mean, I guess it's got kind of the reddish. He just starts to drone on about different things.
There's always a little bit of poeticism to these kind of things. A pelican, it doesn't sound coordinated. It doesn't sound graceful. It doesn't sound dangerous, because it's not. A wolfhound, it's fast on its feet. It's dangerous. It stalks you through the bush and waits till you're the most vulnerable and then moves in for the kill.
Yeah, I'm thinking pelican. That's all I can see right now. It's just a pelican. And with that, we're gonna pivot over. We pan down to a different character that is before us. And I'd like Cyprian to take a moment to describe your character, and then we'll dive into it a little bit.
Cyprian is same very early 20s, but he has what you might call youthful good looks, and he is feeling very much out of place. He he knows his way around a mech. He understands how mechs work. He's read all the books. He knows how these big walking robots operate, but he is nervous. He is not ready for this. This is what his dad wanted for him. This is not what he wanted.
Interesting. And as you are standing there, maybe even a little bit of a nervous like hand motion, maybe you're wiggling your fingers, you know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you have this air of nervousness about you, if I understand what you were describing. There is a firm but gentle hand that touches your left shoulder. And as it comes down on it, you hear a familiar voice. You hear Alan. Alan is one of the other Mech Warriors of Delta Company. There's Mech Warrior Delta Company A, Mech Warrior Delta Company B. He's part of B Company, right? So he puts his hand on your shoulder and you hear George say, Sipey, are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I'll be fine. We just need, let's just get this thing on the road.
The hand on your shoulder lingers there for a moment, and then there's a slightly tighter squeeze. It's a squeeze that says, it's going to be okay. There's a moment of silence. You have this nervousness. And then Alan speaks again. Look, Cyprian, you've done the Sims. You've even taken it out on a stroll before. Just because it's live ammunition this time doesn't make it any different. You know what the fuck you're doing. Breathe, brother. Just breathe. And as he says this, you see that there are a couple of mech techs, some of the underlings of the two, commanders that control the mech bay. And they're all kind of looking at you. And there's not a sense of condescension, but a sense of who put this guy into a cockpit. You're getting that impression from them. Maybe you see one of them look at the other and give like an eye roll. Maybe you see another one kind of, do a little jerk off motion. And I want to know, how does Cyprian respond to that?
So if he sees it, he's going to notice it and he'll shake his head a bit. And then he'll shout over to one of the mech techs. Are all these heat sinks all hooked up correctly? Have you ensured that the ammo drums are all rigged properly? I'm not going to end up stuck out there and get a jam in the machine guns, am I?
I think this is an excellent time for our first roll of the game. All right, so I've created a couple of different macros for us to use. You should see a macro that says skill check. Now, what I'd like you to roll is you're going to be rolling a skill check for either negotiation, protocol, any sort of diplomatic kind of skill that you have. And if you don't have that, then you'll just be rolling 2d6, which is what the skill check does, plus charisma. So charisma times 2. Do you have any skills like that, like negotiations, politics, anything of that nature?
I have protocol.
I love it. Go ahead and roll your 2d6 plus your protocol bonus. Ooh, all right. So I set the DC at 2d6. You rolled an 8. Excuse me, you rolled a 6, I rolled an 8. So you're currently failing the DC on this check. Now, you've got a couple options. You could spend an edge to have me reroll my dice, or reroll your dice. You could just accept to do what you're going to do, or you could use kind of a creative way to maybe give me a plot point and say, here's how I overcome the task or the situation. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I'll give you one of those plot points.
Okay.
He's going to walk over to the mech and then start checking it himself, because I have knowledge in mech tech. So he's going to go and actually check that the mechs have done this properly.
I love it. Why don't you go ahead and make a check for your mech tech. Make like a mech tech check. 2d6 plus your bonus. Go ahead and roll that. 16. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and set a quick DC here. I rolled a 10. All right, so that is a success. So here's what's interesting. As they say these, they're giving these snide comments. They're looking like they're not respecting you in this moment. You step forward and you notice that on your battle mech, which you are the, correct me if I'm wrong, the Stinger, is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So on your Stinger, you notice as you look up at one of the gun emplacements on the right arm, you've got those lasers on the right arm. You notice that one of them is slightly tilted down, as though someone did not connect one of the mounts properly, or they left it loose. And it's so subtle that likely even in combat it wouldn't really matter, but it's just enough to where maybe you'd have to compensate and pull up, but someone didn't do their job right. You can use that information as you see fit.
He is just going to fix it himself and say nothing.
Wow. As you get up on the platform, we watch as you look around, you grab like this giant wrench, you're wrenching it down, you use one of the chains, you gotta pull it up, and you watch as the mech techs are all staring at you. And as you're doing this, as you're fixing it yourself, you look down, you see Alan with a little smile on his face, just nod his head, and then he walks off towards the cafeteria, towards the mess hall, and you hear the mech techs talking to themselves, who didn't do their job right? Who the fuck why did you do it? He's fixing himself. Oh my god, if Reggie sees this, we are totally boned. And they just start panicking and freaking out a little bit, and you see them start doing a second check over of the mech. But with that, we're going to fly across the floor to the right side of the mech bay, where we are going to see Willow. And Willow, why don't you go ahead and describe your character to us, and then I'll set a little scene here for you as well.
Willow is like most of the cadets in his early 20s, slightly tan skin, dark hair, very clean shaven. He always seems to have this air of congeniality, congenial superiority is what it kind of is. You know, he always has this feeling that he thinks that he's better than you, but he doesn't hold it against you.
I like that.
That's
awesome.
And so that is Willow in a nutshell.
Very, very, very good. And Willow, as you are standing next to your mech, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a javelin, correct? You see that there's actually no mech techs around. It's just you, this massive multi-ton killing death machine. You're just standing there. You're giving it a good look over. Maybe you're checking for paints, whatever you want your character to be doing in this moment. And as this is happening, you hear from the garage, the entranceway, you hear this, the telltale sounds of maybe a Jeep or a Rat Pack or something like that is approaching the base. And as you maybe look out the door, you see this Rat Pack is coming towards the base, and you recognize it. It's this little transport vehicle, and that's the very vehicle of the sergeant, who is your sergeant at arms, basically your direct leader. It's his Rat Pack, and he's coming to the base. And this is Sergeant Gerard Everhart. And as you watch this approach, and you see it makes a quick little, you see some dust spit up. By this point, the sun has really started to kind of crest. It's about half up the horizon, so you get a nice, glorious morning rays flowing over it. And stepping out and towards the mech bay, you see this gentleman, Sergeant Everhart. Now, for most leaders, most sergeants, drill sergeants, etc., you'd think of them as being maybe, the classical idea is kind of a hard ass. That's not Everhart. Everhart is a man of the people. He has even been told, and you've even heard some rumors, that he's too soft on some of the recruits. But as he steps into the mech bay, he does a quick stretch. One of these actually goes down, touches his toes, like he's doing a little calisthenics. And he looks around, and there's a couple of Marines that guard the front door. They snap to attention. All he does is just this half-hearted, like, I gotcha. And then he sees you, Willow, and he starts marching over to you. And he actually gives a little bit more of a less half-hearted salute, but more of an actual salute. And goes, Willow, good morning. Are you ready for today's war games?
Our Sergeant, nice to see you're bright and early as always.
Well, I figured since I was sending you out to blow things up and, well, pass your final exam, that I should be here with bells on. And as he says that, you hear a jingle, and he takes out a small little bell, and he just jingles it. And then he gives you this, like, smirk on his face, like, eh?
Yes, that's very funny.
Tried that one of the misses this morning. She said it was stupid. It was stupid, wasn't it?
Permission to speak freely, sir.
Granted.
Yes,
Excellent. Could you hold on to this for me?
of course.
Thank you. And
As soon as he turns around, Willow throws it over his shoulder.
he turns around, looks at the other mechs, and as he's looking around the room, he makes eye contact with each of the other mech warriors in the room still, and you see Callum, you see Lawrence, you see Cyprin, and you see just the commander. Oh my gosh, my cat's meowing in the background. Sorry about that. If you can hear that, Luna, come here. We're playing RPGs. I know you're a kitty. All right, so I love her so much. So he's looking around, he makes eye contact, and then he settles back on Cyprin. And as he settles back on Cyprin, you see he brings his hand up to here, and he starts to kind of massage the palm. His left hand, he massages the palm with his right thumb. As he does so, you can tell there's something that he wants to say, but he's holding it in. And he narrows his eyes, and then he looks back towards you, Willow. So you're prepared. You're ready.
Of course, I've been born ready. Blowing shit up is my second favorite pastime.
Here's what I'll tell you. Every good lance needs a lance leader. And I was thinking today that could be your position.
Oh, not the walking starch bag over there?
And who do you point to?
Lawrence.
To Lawrence? I like it. He looks over at Lawrence. He smiles. And he looks back to you. I think you've got leadership material, Willow. And I'd like to use today as an opportunity to test a theory. So, I'll ask again. Are you prepared to be Lance Leader?
Yes, I'll give it more than my fair shot. I think it'll be doing it just fine.
And as you say that, he reaches into his jacket. He's kind of got like a bomber jacket on right now. It's got, some military, fineries on it. It says his rank, etc. And he unzips it slightly, reaches in, pulls out, and there's a little Velcro patch. And it literally says on it, like, Lance Leader, and it's got a symbol of the Federated Commonwealth just under it. It's not too big, just a little thing. And on your mech suit, your MechWarrior jackets, etc., you've got little Velcro places you can put it on, and he goes to hand it to you.
Nice. Just
slaps it on. He grabs onto your upper shoulder, gives it a good squeeze. Good luck today. I have faith in you. And then we're going to pivot over from that to Dina and Lawrence. Now, Dina is she's the Mech Bay Right, mech tech leader. And she is a fastidious person. She loves mechs. She absolutely loves them. Would never pilot one. Absolutely would never pilot one. She's been asked to join, the mech pilot school. She's like, nope, I'm good fixing them. And the way in which she interacts with these mechs is almost a religious experience. You'll watch her, she'll look at the length of a gun, she'll view it, she gets real close. You've heard her screaming that they're not respecting the technology. Some of the newer underling mech techs, the new guys, the recruits. And Lawrence, in this moment, she's actually up right next to the cockpit of your mech, and you've got is it the Stinger? Is that
it's
the one?
Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie, excellent. So you've got the Valkyrie. You see her up at the top of the mech. She's kind of on the shoulder. The cockpit is currently open. You see her bent over inside of it, and there's a couple of these cords, giant, old style computer cords and boxes, and they're all kind of pulled out, and everything else on your Valkyrie looks absolutely pristine, put together. But the cockpit right now, and you're supposed to leave for wargames in the next hour, looks like a complete and utter disaster. And from up in the cockpit, she's got her legs sticking out. You can only really just make out her lower back, and occasionally see her head bob up, and you can just see her saying things like, "Who the fuck was in here? They don't respect anything. This is all wrong. How could they do this? This is And then she goes dives back into the chaos, and you hear cling, cling, tear, rip. It's a little chaotic, but I'm gonna leave that scene to you and see how you react.
So Lawrence is gonna probably make his way up the gantry or whatever allows him to enter into the cockpit, and he's gonna knock on the open cockpit glass and go, not that I know anything about this machine outside of what button does the shooty bit. Why is it like this right now? We have to leave in like half an hour.
And without looking up, you hear her. You're about halfway through your sentence. She starts not screaming, but there is this raised elevation. There's a raised tone that she has. And you hear her say, I told you bloody recruit mech techs to take a 30-minute break while I fix your freaking blunders. And if you... Lawrence, Lawrence, sir, okay, I know right now it looks bad, but if you look away from it for like 15 minutes, it's not going to look bad because you're not looking at it, and I could definitely have it put back together. Mostly, probably all of it, really. I mean, it's such a beautiful piece of hardware, and they put it together wrong, and there was the chip and the cord went to the other place, and they just didn't do it right, and there wasn't respect, and they didn't use zip ties, and everything was chaotic, and I had to put it back together right.
I understand. It is none of my business how this is done. I only ask that it be done.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and
sure.
I have noticed that the LRM seems to have an incorrect firing trajectory. I do not know what it does. All I know is that when I pull that trigger over there, 10 rockets go and hopefully hit something. Recently, they have not been. So if you could fix that, I would be very appreciative, damn it.
The look that crosses her face, she has this almost rosy complexion. You know, she's been inside this mech working hard. You're in the cockpit. It's kind of hot. Even though it's not turned on, it's always a little bit warm and stuffy in those. The color drains from her face. And you see her almost start to shake a little bit, like she's nervous. She physically, you can see her mouthing 1, 2, 3, as though she's counting to keep herself breathing steadily. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'll have it fixed. And I say this with the utmost respect, sir. Could you get the fuck out of this cockpit right now?
Noted. I will be back, but if you can please do your work, I will stay out of your way. And he'll make his way down the gantry and let her, I assume, go to a screaming fit.
As you get halfway down the gantry, you just hear... And then you see her get back to work. And with all of that, we're actually going to just let everyone mill about. Does anyone else have any other scenes they'd like to do with their mech techs, the people they're around, with each other, anything like that, before I have the sergeant kind of move to the center of the room and call you all around?
Yeah, Willow is going to, after the sergeant leaves and it's just him, he's going to walk around his mech and place his hand on the, shin and the foot and say, oh, Penelope, this is our first live fire engagement, but we're no strangers to fighting. We'll be fine out there. And he kisses his 2 fingers and puts it on the mech and walks over to the sergeant.
I love it. Anyone else? Perfect. Sergeant moves to the center of the room, does another little stretch, kind of rolls a shoulder, looks at the other mechs. Delta Company A, MechWarrior's on deck. And that's his command to get everyone to line up to attention right in front of him. And as he waits for everyone to line up in attention right in front of him, he smiles, nods over at the mech techs. The mech techs are continuing their work. And he takes a moment. He actually looks at you all. And then with a smile on his face, he reaches into his other bomber jacket pocket, pulls out a long cigar, puts it in his mouth, watches you all standing at strict attention, hands behind, etc. True military fashion. He's actually, you can see him, he's like waiting to see if you're sweating in this moment. He takes out the cigar little cutter thing, cuts the end, flicks it away, puts that away, takes it up, reaches into another pocket. Do any of you have a light?
Lawrence will reach into his combat uniform, pull out a brass lighter, and then offer it to him.
Thank you, MechWarrior. Woo! All right. War games. Who's ready for some war games?
We are, sir.
Callum? You don't look ready.
Ask me when I'm out there, sir.
Bold choice. I like where your mind's at. Lawrence, you ready for some war games?
Sir, yes, sir.
Very good, very good. He goes to look at Cyprian. Looks like he's about to ask a question. Cyprian, how do you look in this moment? You've been instructed to stand at attention. What is the expression? What is Cyprian looking like in this moment?
He will be like the absolute picture of exactly what he should be doing.
You see the
Just
sergeant nod.
staring dead ahead.
Boy, your father would be proud. You look good. You look damn good. Damn good. Excellent.
Sir.
Well, Mech Warriors, he starts to pace back and forth in front of you, not really looking at you, more of kind of looking off at the mechs, looking outside. He's giving a little speech in this moment, and every so often takes a puff of his cigar. Today's mission, you'll be recreating the assault on a small pirate base. The enemies you will be facing will include light tanks and the possibility of light mech engagement as well. Now, your mission parameters as they stand are to secure the base, destroy all enemy hostiles, and then return back to Delta Company Stronghold. Is that clear?
Sir, yes, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Sir.
Now, normally in these sort of war games, we use computer simulated ammunition, but I have authorized today because I feel it is important for each and every one of you to experience true and absolute live fire. Now, with that being said, here are the rules of engagement. If your mech is penetrated, if the armor is torn away, you are considered dead. You're considered destroyed. Now, we've placed certain safety protocols inside of this training exercise to ensure your, and he pauses, longevity. Any questions, cadets?
No, sir.
All right, very good. Now, I have authorized Ensign Willow here to be Lance Commander. Does anyone have any problems with Willow being Lance Commander today? Does anyone think they could do a better job than Lance Commander Willow today?
Sir, we'll see, sir.
Permission to speak freely, Sergeant.
You are granted the permission to speak freely, Callum.
Ensign Willow has a remarkable proclivity for failing forward.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
I like where your minds are at. I like where your minds are at. Now, simultaneously, Delta Company B will be performing a similar operation in which they will, well, that is to say, I will be scoring. Now, whoever wins will receive a 1-week vacation away from the MechWarrior base to visit family and do as you see fit. Now, all of these activities must take place on Kentares IV, but go wild. But that shall be your reward for successfully completing today's war games. With that being said, make sure you get some breakfast. As I always say, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. For any good mech pilot, you got to make sure the stomach's full. If it's not full, then you're not going to have the energy to pilot your mech, and he starts to ramble a little bit. But with that being said, gentlemen, you have your orders. Report outside in 30 minutes, and we'll get this show on the road. Is that understood?
Sir, yes, sir.
Dismissed. Takes another puff of the cigar, spins around on his heel, and marches towards the gate, the garage door. And at this point, I want to give you all just a little bit of time to either go interact with Delta Company A, to talk amongst yourselves, and if you have nothing to do, then we can just pivot forward, whatever your preference is.
Willow's going to lean over to Lawrence and say, I'm Lance Company Leader. How do you feel about that?
I have no strong feelings one way or the other. You lead us well, and we shall succeed.
That's quite a diplomatic statement.
Why
I am nothing but diplomatic.
do you always got to prod him like that?
Oh, the man is half starch. He's got to loosen up.
It's all right, Lawrence. He doesn't mean anything.
I know he doesn't, but well, actions speak louder than words. And he'll make his way back over to check on how Dina is doing in the Valkyrie.
And from the Valkyrie where Dina is, you hear her say, "Who the hell used coax cable? It's not supposed to be coax cable. It's supposed to be diax cable. These..." And she just goes off on a just cussing tangent, and it's aggressive. And from the other side of the mech bay, you see Reggie looking over in her direction and just not facepalm fully, but just kind of do one of these like, "Oh my god, this is who I am assigned to work with," and she's absolutely insane. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But Cyprian, I want to hear from you. What do you do as Lawrence walks away, leaving you, Willow, and Callum together?
He's going to be very quiet, but probably say something diplomatic. Well, if the sergeant decided that Willow was going to be Lance leader, then I'm sure he had. He's the sergeant.
Is in fact the sergeant. Yes, that's correct.
Very good. Very good. And as you all start to part ways, we pivot over to about 30 minutes later. And each of your mechs, you've been allowed to get up into the cockpits, and you've been given the order. You see the captain, the sergeant down at the base. You see him do this little like squirrel with his fingers, which is just his universal code for spin up the engines. And as he goes to spin up the engines, we hear the following.
Processing. Stabilizing. Weapon systems online. All systems active.
And as the engines start to spool up, you can see these massive war machines kind of just churn to life. And there's like almost a breathing kind of motion that happens as this takes place. You can see the arms maybe pivot. You give the controls a quick little wiggle just to make sure they're working. You test out your actuators, and as you feel the mechs literally as though they're taking in a breath, coming to life, you can feel, even though you're not firing weapons, you can feel this kind of heat. Now, if you imagine these MechWarrior, like you've got these, it's the neuro helmets, I believe it's called, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Again, my BattleTech lore is not perfect, but you have these neuro helmets, and you have these suits that you wear that actually have like cooling mechanisms inside. You can actually feel those start to kick on a little bit, but even still, there's just an ever so slight amount of sweat that each of you would feel as these giant multi-ton war machines boot up. And as that happens, you see the sergeant. He's got a couple of other, people around him, some lieutenants and things like that. As he's standing there, you see him take a little, comm microphone, and over the comms, you hear him go, "Mech Warriors, are you prepared to move out?"
Oh, yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, you look up on your heads-up display, you will see your target location. It is 3 miles from Delta Company home base. You are to move in, you are to destroy the enemy that you find, and make sure that you claim that base for further operations. Mech Warriors, move out. And as he says that, you each are able to press the accelerators. And here's my question for the group. Who is the most rambunctious? Who had their hand on the throttle and was like ready to fucking just burst out of there?
I'm pretty sure Callum's just like been waiting for an excuse to get let off the chain with live fire exercises. So
boom. I'm gonna have you make the first Mech Warrior piloting check.
all
Go
right,
ahead and do it.
Mech. All right, skill check and +4.
Boom. And with a precision that makes it look like you are a veteran of many, 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 many wars and battles, you take that thing right out, almost going too fast. You actually hear the sergeant over the comms say, "Throttle back," and as he goes to throttle back, you've already pivoted I would imagine, and you're making your way towards the door at not full speed, but just a dung, 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 and everyone else would see this wolfhound, this giant, almost wolf-like looking mech, pivot out and just take out that front door. And do you full throttle, Callum, or you just, what's the plan?
As soon as we're beyond the threshold of the mech bay doors, it's
and all of you would hear this, the engine, this fusion reactor, just, and you just see these legs just boom, 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 and this thing almost leans forward as it just takes off at this gallop, this absolute gallop out of the mech bay doors. Who would be number 2 out the door is my question.
I'll follow up.
I love it. Lawrence, go ahead and give us a piloting check.
All right.
Ooh, wow. You're definitely going to pass that one. That was a 2 on my DC.
Guys.
Hard yikes. Beautiful. So there's actually a skill check macro if you look down at the bottom. If you go ahead and click on, you should have it under your, if you go to the 3 little bars, you can show it in bar. You click the in bar, and then you'll actually have a little macro that you can roll. It's totally fine that you rolled 2d6, but I tried to make it easy for you.
I see. I didn't have that
No,
selected. My
no
bad.
worries, man. It's all good. But that's a 10, and what's your score bonus?
+5.
+5. Awesome. So 15. Describe to me, if you will, describe to the group, how do you exit the mech bay?
So Lawrence will kind of like, almost like as soon as he gets out of the, the mech gantry, the actual bay itself, he'll kind of like do a slight pivot and then like kind of go like almost like a parade turn left and then immediately like make his way out, just kind of like straight line as much as possible.
Very lockstep and key, very starchy, if you will, is the feeling that I'm getting. Very starchy. I love it. So we watch as your mech pivots out of the gantry, right, like just a 360, 90-degree turn, right on its heel, and then just marches out. And you see, as you look out of the cockpit down to your right-hand side, you see the sergeant. He's like sweating a little bit. You see him pointing off in the direction that the wolfhound went. And then he looks over to you and he gives you a very nice salute. And then you can see him saying, like, you can see him mouthing, "Now that's how it's done, boys. That's how it's done." And you get your way out. Now, of course, who's the next person that's going to make their way out of the mech bay?
Cyprian would definitely follow on from that.
I love it.
Just try and mimic exactly what he's just seen.
Go and help to make a mech piloting check for us. Beautiful. And you do it. Go ahead and describe to us, how do you take the mech out of the gantry and out of the bay?
He would try and replicate exactly what he's just seen done, but probably not quite as good. Probably only turn it like 70 degrees rather than the full 90, and then maybe stumble a little bit, but he's doing the best.
I like it. So it is practiced, but it's a little awkward is the way that I'm understanding. So you pivot, the mech does a little bit of a wobble, your torso, your legs and your legs is not quietly matched up to your torso. So you're walking out the door, but your torso is pivoted like maybe 20 degrees to the left. So you're like, it looks like you're walking awkwardly. It's not straight lockstep and key. I love it. Awesome. And last but certainly not least, we have Willow, the Lance Commander for today's mission. And go ahead and make, wow, my DCs, the dice hate me. They absolutely hate me. It's glorious. And go ahead and make that piloting check for us, please. I love it. Willow, same thing as the others. Please describe how you exit.
Willow is going to tap the battered metal plate that's hanging in his cockpit that just says Willow on it. And then he says, "All right, Penelope, let's get going." And then he's just gonna nonchalantly just saunter out of the mech bay. And then once he's out, he's gonna spool up to full speed to catch up with the Lance.
I love it. So it's not as lockstep and key. It's kind of maybe a little bit more of a meandering. You take the mech out, maybe pivot a little bit, test out stuff, and then just, move your way out, maybe meandering a little bit. I like what you said. And then as soon as that's done, you're trying to catch up with Callum. Is that right?
Yep.
I love it. So as the 4 of you exit out of the mech bay, we pan out to more of this overview of your mechs, and we see these 4 mechs moving over this kind of dusty, rocky, grayish, not grayish, orangish kind of dirt terrain. And as you continue to run, we see them running for, a good mile or so. Another mile passes, and then the terrain starts to actually change a little bit. We start to see more of these grayish rocks. We start to see some brush. We actually start to see some grass. And as you're moving out on your display, Willow, you would see there is this radar, and it's kind of a full circle 360 degrees. And on the radar, you see that there is this tiny little blue ping. And as you're moving in the direction, you're actually moving east away from the Delta Company base, you'll see this little blue kind of blinking circle, and that represents the target. That represents where you're supposed to be heading off to, okay? Now, as you're moving in, you continue to move forward and forward. Everyone else would see this on their displays as well. And you continue moving. And as you get close, you watch as there is a rise up, as you're getting less so from like the orangish dirt desert, and more into this kind of mountainous gray, and then the little bit of shrubs and some more temperate kind of atmosphere, more temperate kind of a place. And as it rises up, you can see that the area you're supposed to go to is a good 2 to 3 miles off from where you're currently positioned. And there's a couple of different routes that you and your lance can take to actually approach it. I'm going to move you guys over to the actual wargames battle map here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag your tokens down to the bottom left-hand side, or right-hand side, excuse me. And I believe it was, let's see here, we've got Harrier is out front. We've got everyone else. You can go ahead and position yourself. Make sure that you can actually interact with your tokens. I want to make sure I didn't totally flub that up. Everyone should have access. Perfect. And you've got a couple of options of how you can approach this situation. Now, directly in front of you, there's a rise up. So you guys are on the lowest kind of level of terrain for this region. You're moving up to this mountainous region. It rises up a good couple 100 feet, but you notice that there looks to be a road that travels to that would be, you're heading east, so southeast. So travels to southeast and then curves up. And there's a little bit of there's a road that you could follow up, and that would likely lead, if you kind of pivot to the left, over to this base that you're supposed to take over. There's also, and what I'm going to have you do is, I need anyone that wants to do it. I want someone does anybody have tactics? Do they have strategy? Anything like that they can make a check on?
I've got tactics.
Yeah, I got tactics as well.
Both of you go ahead and make a tactics roll, please.
Does streetwise count?
I would let streetwise count on this, yeah. A little bit of a stretch, but I like it. Beautiful, Willow. Beautiful, Callum. So simultaneously, each of you would notice that in the mountain range that is in front of you, there is actually a rise. So if you look over just to the kind of left-hand side here where I'm pinging, there's a rise that leads up, but then instantaneously you can tell the telltale sign of this rise up, a slow slope that then slopes back down and heads into some sort of valley. So you might be able to use that valley as you maybe are thinking about this. It could be maybe a little bit of a safer or more of a secretive approach towards this base, but I'm going to let you all take a moment to discuss how you'd like to approach towards this pirate base.
The road's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Agreed.
I would say so, yeah.
Any commander with assault would have that place ambushed, and especially from up high. Couldn't take the road. But that ravine over there should be pretty good. Give us some cover. What do you think?
I agree. I will hang back and watch the reach for any activity, and when we make it through, I will follow up. My missile launcher does not grant me good experience in close quarters combat anyway.
As soon as Lawrence mentions ambush, mentions, watch, your radar starts to light up with enemy pings. You're seeing 4 distinct pings, and they're registering as LRM carriers. And that's what you're hearing in this moment. So, and if you actually pivot up to the top side of the map, which I will do for the characters at home as well, you are picking up 4 distinct signals, and they are all on top of this ridge, and they are directed towards, can you guess where? The road. They're absolutely directed towards the road. So you guys have an opportunity to advance as you see fit. So it sounds like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like the Lance Company's idea is to take the ravine. Is that correct?
Yes. Willow's gonna say to Lawrence, well, normally that'd be a good idea, but I think we're going to need all of us out on the other end. So what I think is the best thing to do is put you in either the front position on point or in the back while we go through this ravine. That way we won't be in your way when you shoot the missiles.
Oh, I'll follow close behind. Not seeing any active mech signatures near the ravine, so I'll just keep my eyes open, but I'll follow close behind.
Yes. Actually, you know what? This is a good idea. This is a good time. I haven't paid much attention to it in the past, but what are all of your mech's capabilities?
So sorry, should I deliver this out of game or should I deliver
No,
this
you should
in
deliver this in
horrible
character.
Okay.
You can do it as however you want, Anders. Whatever you want to do, as long as you're having fun. If you want to do an accent, do it. If you want to do it just as yourself,
I was wondering how
whatever
strong
works for
wanted me
you.
to deliver it, basically.
I mean,
want you to
I
have
asked
fun.
in character,
Yeah.
but I don't
Alright.
care.
All right, then Lawrence will go, well, my Valkyrie doesn't have a whole lot of close quarters firing ability. It only has a medium laser, but LRM-10 does a lot of damage for a light mech. Fucking Jesus Christ, Russian.
like Mick.
He's
Come, comrades.
До свидания. I am German.
I like vodka.
My Mick is powered on vodka and potatoes. I'm done. Let's move on. Forgive me.
And does your mech have jump jets?
It's there it goes again. Yeah, it does have jump jets. It's movement 3. So
Well, those jump jets will come in handy, I bet. Give us quick access to elevated positions.
Mm-hmm.
And how about you, Cyprian?
Cyprian, at the mention of jump jets, he'll go, oh, mine's got those too.
And weapons? Does it have those?
Yeah. Medium laser, 2 small machine guns.
All right, so we've got 1 medium range, short range, and 1 long range. And Callum?
The Wolfhound's best function is as an attack scout, get in close and hit and fade.
And does the Wolfhound have jump jets?
No, but it does have a large laser and 4 medium lasers.
A lot of lasers. All right, so
I like
Callum, you're on
lasers.
point. It's good. Sounds like you need to. Callum, you're on point. Cyprian, you will be you'll be in the middle. I'll pick up the back of this 3 chain, and Lawrence, you wait a bit and follow us in afterward. And then once we get into combat, you should be able to stay up. Use your jump jets to get up onto the ravine, and use your LRMs from a safe distance.
Roger that.
And as the order is given from the Lance commander, we watch as the 4 of you take your mechs up. Now, how far back do you want Lawrence, Willow, to be hanging? So, like, how many hexes back from you all do you want him hanging?
About 10 seconds.
Okay.
So 2 hexes?
Just a hex or 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. That's awesome. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pivot you guys up, and you can put yourselves in whatever position you want, but you've made your way up and over the crest. And as you get up and over the crest, you can just make out these LRMs up at the top there as you see them. They're just next to this walled. It looks like just a concrete wall. You can see this base. It's up on this ridge, this like sheer-faced ridge. There's a concrete wall. It looks like it was specifically designed to be for this sort of war games. It's just a practice base. You actually see that the concrete wall has a couple of maybe blasts in it. You see some scorch marks from lasers. The wall itself is all still stable. It's all put together, but you can see that it's been shot a few times. But as you get closer, you watch as these Bulldog LRMs start to very slowly pivot towards your direction. Not too aggressively, but you see two of them start to pivot towards your direction. And there's a little valley entrance or exit right here. Now, what I need, anyone that has it, and if you don't, you can just roll 2d6 plus intelligence. I need you guys to roll tactics. And if you have combat sense or any sort of trait, bonus, like a positive trait like that, go ahead and add that to this as well. Excellent. Excellent. Wow, I rolled so terribly. Let's see here. It is... Ooh, so as of right now, the DC was a 14. I've got a 14, a 14. Defender always wins. So unless somebody wants me to re-roll my dice, or they want to re-roll your dice, you are currently failing this check.
But it's not a combat action. There's technically no defender. It's meter beat on a skill check.
Oh, it's meter beat. Oh, thank you so much. You're absolutely right.
No,
so you actually
you're welcome.
beat it. I couldn't remember if that was
No,
way.
you're
So
good.
thank you for correcting my
You're
rules.
good.
So that actually beats it, which is perfect. So Harrier, the Wolfhound, Callum.
Yes. Yeah.
As you're moving down this ravine, 3 mechs behind you, you're moving at a decent clip. Something in the back of your mind, and I'll actually have you describe it, but as you get towards the mouth, you see it. There's a curve to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Something doesn't feel right. It's almost as though... I describe it as it almost feels like this is too easy. Like, this ravine would be a great place for a trap.
So can I sell you on a skill check here? The tracking skill handles both physical tracking outside of a mech and tracking inside of a mech using sensor systems and things like that. That would be a great place for there to be some more armor assets, or maybe even a light mech or two. So I want to
Go ahead and make the skill check.
I can see if I can pick anything up.
I'm setting the DC at 3d6. I rolled an 11.
Okay.
Ooh, we've got some options. We've got some options. You could reroll. You could use some edge. You could convince me with a plot point if you want to.
You know what? We've got more plot points than edge right now. I'll spend a plot point just to, if it fits with your...
Describe to me how you overcome the check. And what I'll do is I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give to you what you see. Or actually, no. You describe what you notice. But there is definitely something around that corner.
I think it would be basically a combination of that sort of feeling at the base of your spine, like when you know something's not right, and a telltale sort of whistle in the speakers of Callum's headset as he's in front, as he sort of gets close to the gap. That is indicative of a point-to-point short burst transmission from a sort of passive mech.
And as you get that feeling, your sensors start to light up. In fact, all of your sensors start to light up. Enemy mech detected. Enemy mech detected. Enemy mech detected. And then a fourth enemy mech detected. And over the comms, you hear some familiar voices. You hear Yinny, Alan, Helen, and George powering up their mechs, which is Delta Company's A Squad. Delta Company's A Squad. Or you Delta Company A. Anyway, I've already ruined the immersion, so game's over. Good game, everybody. No, it's fine. We're going to go with you guys being A, they're going to be B. All right, so they're B Squad. So B Squad powering up. And over the comms, you hear George. And George always speaks like he's maybe got his mouth full of marbles. And you hear George go, "You think you guys are going to let you play all alone? Let's get after it." And this is where we're actually going to go ahead and roll some initiative and get some battle going. Now, the way that we're going to do initiative is we are going to be rolling 2d6 plus reflex plus reflex. So 2d6 reflex times 2.
And GM, I've got the positive trait combat sense.
As do I.
Would we
You would add
treat
that
that
as
as
well.
a
Yep,
as
add
a
that
as
as
a
well.
as a plus-
Absolutely.
okay.
Yep.
And this one's a stretch, but I've also got the positive trait Sixth Sense, which gives me a +1 versus ambush or surprise.
You could absolutely
Other
add
thing.
that. Absolutely. That's
Okay.
not a stretch at all.
All
That
right.
is perfect.
All right, I just don't want to.
That is perfect. I love it. I love it.
Where am I? Okay, initiative. I'm going to do.
Beautiful. And let me know when everyone is in the initiative.
I believe I'm in the
Everyone's
initiative.
in. Perfect. All right. So what you guys all see on your sensors is you see 4 battle mechs power up. And as those 4 battle mechs power up, the power signatures of the bulldogs all power down. And what you come to realize is those bulldogs were a distraction. They were fake signals that weren't even there. And apparently the sergeant has set up a war game between lancemates, as it were, is what's going to happen. And their goal was likely to drive you into this ravine and set an ambush, but quick thinking by Callum has not given them the initiative. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to give you all kind of a D&D Pathfinder turn, but you're going to get a surprise round because you've noticed them, and the enemy Ravens, the other Lance, Delta Company B, they have to take a minute or two to actually spool up their engines because they were completely shut down waiting for you all to approach. All right, so first up in the initiative is going to be the Valkyrie. Go ahead and get after it, good sir.
All right. So I think, given that he's in this ravine, he's not going to like it. And given that the bulldogs are powering down, their missiles are not going to be a factor anymore. So would I be able to use my jump jets to actually get up and onto like here?
I would be
And then,
offended
like-
if you didn't.
All right, perfect. And measure the distance to one of them. So 5, which puts that at, if I check the resources.
So to describe what you see, there are these old dried riverbeds, which is what you're moving through, these ravines. So at one point there was likely maybe like a massive lake or something, and it was more towards the southeast, which is the direction you were heading. There was maybe a big lake bed up there, and this is where the water ran off, maybe during an ice age on this planet at some point in its distant past. But as you jump up, you jump all the way to the top of the crest of this mountain kind of range, or the top. It's flat on the top. And as you look down, you see that there is another valley, an old river bed in front of you. And then just over that, as it kind of slants down, you see the top of these 4 ravens. You can just make out the tops of them. And each of them is painted to where they're kind of blending in with the surroundings as well. So this was a devious little ambush attempt here. But go ahead and take your action, sir.
All right. I think I'm gonna just open up. You know what? We got the missile launcher. We're okay at short range and medium range, which is where we're gonna be.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna use my missile launcher. I'm gonna try to fire on this one.
And you know what's beautiful about that? I'm going to have you make the attack roll, but they're not powered up, so they can't dodge you. So you're going to hit automatically, but go ahead and make that attack roll.
All right. Skill check for the missile, which is shooting, which I think I have a +5 to. Sorry, let me just double check that. Yep, +5. Nope, not 65. All right, that's 9.
9, that is a hit. They can't
All right.
defend. They're not powered up.
Hit location.
Which one are you
for...
shooting? Which one are you
Oh,
shooting?
sorry, the furthest one on the left, the one that I just pinged right there.
Excellent. What I'll do is I'll actually show their nameplates so you can tell who is in which mech. And I've just abbreviated their names on there for you.
Can you show the nameplates for all the friendly mechs too?
Yeah, absolutely. I can get in there. Let me... You know what? While you're taking your attack roll, so that is a hit. And then what you're going to do is there is a hit location mech, Lawrence.
Yep.
Right leg, perfect. So you watch as there is that telltale sign, and you hear that sound, and each of the other mech warriors would hear that. And you watch as the LRMs just launch out of the launch mechanism, I guess you could call it. But you watch as they...
Tubes.
And now you had mentioned in the past, right before Dina was working on it, that the missiles seemed to kind of go a little wonky. Maybe like one would fly off in random directions. You watch as it is this... You almost think you have was it ART? ART? You almost think you have ARTs on this. This is just... Boom! And crashes in to the right leg of Alexei's, or Alan's Raven. And go ahead and tell me how much damage is that to that Raven?
That is 1 point of damage. Let me double check that.
Okay.
I believe it's 1 point of damage, but it also has 1 M of missile damage.
Go ahead and
so
roll
now I
that 1
for
M of
that.
missile damage. And there should be a
Yep.
missile damage macro. 2, go ahead and roll hit location on that one as well.
Yep.
The torso. Very, very, very nice. So 1 damage to the right leg, and then we've got 2 damage to the torso. Now you see on your sensors you see actually on the sensors once you target that mech, you actually get a little display that pops up and it shows the assumed or what kind of damage it has, and you watch as that Raven's mech's right leg goes from green to yellow to red. And then you watch as the center torso goes from green to yellow to red. So you've damaged it, but you have not broken through that outer armor as of yet. Next up, we have the Stinger. Go ahead.
Okay, so mechanically, how far, in terms of hexes, is point blank, short, medium, long?
That is actually listed. There is a handout in our Discord. If you go to the resources under general chat, it will tell you what the distance is. So short range, so point blank is right next to each other. Short range is between 2 and 6 hexes. Medium range 7 to 11. Long range 12 to 16. Extreme 17 to 21. And it tells you, how much you'd have to spend if you want to do extreme range. You have to spend a plot point, etc. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. So can I use my jump jets to get right up to the top of here? This looks like the peak.
Absolutely. So jump jets allow you to ignore terrain. Effectively, you can jump up a hill. If there's trees, you could jump over the trees. It's not going to reduce your movement. In this situation, you can jump anywhere within your movement, which is 3. Which for movement, what we do is we take your movement score and then we actually double it, and that tells you how many hexes you can move. Okay. So you can actually move up to 6 hexes if you want to. A little bit of a homebrew thing that I picked up from Aaron, who's been running a MechWarrior Destiny game for us on every couple of Fridays here and there, more consistently lately, which has been awesome. Aaron's the man. Yeah. If you ever need a good game master that doesn't suck like me. No, I'm kidding. I'm amazing. Don't talk to Aaron because he's terrible. So there you go. I love you, dude.
I know.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So, what are the weapons on these Ravens? I assume we
Phenomenal
know them?
question. On your displays, you see that each of these Ravens is armed with the following. Now, Ravens are armed with 2 medium lasers and an SRM-6. Each of them has the exact same weaponry on them right now.
Okay. So is this section here, presumably this is higher than
Yep,
this
that is
little...
higher. They are down. That is literally a sheer drop-off. And if you wanted to literally jump all the way up and over them and land, and then just point down, I might even give you a height bonus. You'd have the high ground, as it were. Don't do it, Cyprian. I have the high ground. No, I'm kidding. That's a really bad reference. I'm done.
You underestimate my mech.
You underestimate my stinger.
So I'm going to get to there.
Okay.
And then think both machine guns and medium laser on Homer.
Awesome. Go ahead and roll the attack roll just so we get used to doing that. But you can also go ahead and just, you're just going to roll for damage because you are automatically hitting since they are just powering up. But go ahead and roll the attack roll. 12. Perfect. That is a hit. And then you're going to roll a hit location for the first blast. You've got a left arm. Awesome.
Yep.
And then you're also firing all weapons. You're doing an alpha strike, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Go ahead and roll hit location on the second weapon. All right, left arm and torso. Left arm was... Oh, you have 3 weapons. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You're sassy.
2 machine guns, 1 medium
Okay.
laser.
So you're hitting a little bit of everything. So the first attack was with what weapon and how much damage?
Sorry to interject, but your 2 machine guns are what's called fire linked, which means that they just hit one
Oh, okay.
location.
Got it. Yep.
So they don't
Okay.
hit separate.
So it would be machine guns on left arm then.
Okay, perfect.
Damage 2.
2. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you watch as your mech jumps up, flying into the air. Those jumps, you hear this, and as it happens, you watch your heat kind of because it takes a lot of heat to jump a giant multi-ton mech. But as you do so, it's almost expertly. It's like watching Superman fly through the air. You jump up, your mech pivots, and then you land. And as you land, you watch as the machine guns light up, and these huge tracer rounds fire out and just start to chew away on the left arm of this mech in front of you. This Raven just starts to chew up. Their arms are less so arms, more these little nodules, like these little gun emplacements on the left. But you watch as that gun just starts to get chewed up on the left arm. And as that happens, I have to double check one quick thing here because I think, yes. So you actually breach the left arm of this mech with that first shot. So what we're going to be doing is actually rolling our first potential critical. I'm going to go ahead and have you roll on the critical chance, which is just a 2d6. You're going to roll that critical chance macro. 3, so it's not a critical hit. However, if we remember back to what the sergeant said, as soon as a mech's exterior armor is broken through, what does that mean for that mech?
They are out of the game.
You hear over comms, you hear one of Delta Company B's. You hear George with his mouth full of marmors go, "Son of a bitch! He's supposed to be shitty at this. Stupid son of a mother. I'm dead. And over the comms, you hear your sergeant. You hear Sergeant Gerard go, 1 mech down, 3 to go. And next up is going to be, let's see here. We've got the enemies, and we've got Harrier. Harrier, you're up next, my dude.
All right. So this guy that I'm pinging, he just went down. All right, 1, 2, 3, perfect. So if I can, I'd like to move up to the top of this sort of little ravine here and sort of pivot. And I'm going to target, I guess this is Yinny.
Mm-hmm. Yinny.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and target Yinny. And we're going to hit her with my medium lasers.
Over the comms, as you go to target, you hear Yinny. You hear her, and a kind of a sassy voice say, "You wouldn't shoot a girl while she's still sleeping, would you?"
And I think maybe in a moment of levity that may or may not be common, as we'll see as time goes, Callum will just retort, "I'll let you know if I see one."
Oh, an audible "oh" over the comms from all the other mech pilots. Absolutely fantastic. Go ahead and roll the attack roll. Obviously, it's an auto hit, but I want us to get used to rolling it. And
Sure,
then
yep.
go ahead and roll a hit location for your weapons. Yep.
All right, so the first hit location is going to be, let's hit location, Nick.
Torso. Nice
Torso.
solid blow directly to the torso.
So
How much damage
that's-
is that?
That's 4 damage to the torso.
Ooh. And what weapon was that?
2 medium lasers,
Two
fire
medium
linked.
lasers. So as the 2 medium lasers lance out these green just beams of energy, you watch as the center torso of Yinny's mech, this just plate upon plate of this armor. You watch as literally a hole is bored through the center. This molten red hot. You hear Yini going, no, 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 no! And then you see on your sensor display a image of the mech, and you watch as you see this little writing come across, and it says armor penetrated. And you hear Yini over the comms slam the control console of her mech and just start swearing up a storm. But go ahead and roll a critical hit chance.
Sure.
Ooh, not quite there. So to get a critical hit, just so everyone knows, you have to roll at least an 8 on 2d6. I'm hoping we maybe get one here today because it's fun.
Yeah.
I've got all the tables for it, but no big deal. Now, you still have some other weapons, I believe.
I do.
Harrier,
Yeah.
if you'd like to go ahead and use those as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually leave myself with it's gonna be a little dangerous. I'm gonna leave myself with 2 excess heat at the end of this turn, but I'm going to fire I'm gonna fire my other fire linked medium lasers at I guess that's Helen.
Helen, yep.
Right here. All right. She's still at short range. All right. Well, let's do the skill check. Just there, and let's do the hit location mech.
Left leg, nice.
So if we know that 4 points breaches the torso, like to spend a plot point to shift the damage location up 1 to the center torso.
I will absolutely take your plot point, and that will absolutely happen. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oh, that was Steve. Sorry, I didn't mean to try to steal from Steve. My bad. I'm a terrible person. Deny it. Deny it! There we go. I'm stealing from there, you. So as you watch as the medium lasers lance out, and they actually do strike that left leg, and you watch it starts to melt, and maybe pulling back on your control stick to just kind of pivot the mech up, you watch as this lance of green energy tears just straight across the center torso and just opens it up. And go ahead and roll another critical chance for us as well. Hey, yes, we got one. Let's go. All right, nicely done. Go ahead and roll on the mech. There should be a critical hit, so it should be under critical damage, and then torso crit. Engine shielding damage. So as you watch as it tears open the front, the metallic plating melting away, you actually start to see some of the internal skeleton, and then you just barely make out, and just as you might actually blow this thing to smithereens, you actually pull back to maybe pull it away so you don't actually blow her up. But you watch as you can see that engine shielding starts to glow red hot, and you hear over the comms, you actually hear Helen saying, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You win, you win, you win! All right, calm down. Jeez, oh beats! Holy crap! These guys are not messing around. So much for an stable, alive, barely. Stupid. We're on the same team, kind of. Dumbass. But yeah, and next up we have, last but certainly not least, the javelin.
The Willow goes, ah, shit, ambush. Those with jump jets get, oh, good job, team. And then he's gonna move his, because he has jump jets. He'll move right up his 6 squares, right up to the top of there, and just.
Oh, right in the face.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Get in there.
Alan,
Get in there.
Alan. His mech is almost powered up. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and spend a plot point right now because you've given me so many that his mech is actually fully powered up at this point. So he's going to get a chance to actually dodge this attack.
Go for it. I'm going to shoot 2 SRM6s at him.
Love it.
And
Go
then
ahead and
2
roll that
separate.
attack roll.
So 4, this is first SRM6.
Ooh! Defender wins. You watch as the SRM6 is... And it looks like they're going straight. So LRM's more of a kind of an arc. The SRM6s launch forward. And go ahead, Callum, you had something to say.
I was gonna tell you, if you got a point of edge, spend it. Make him re-roll his dice. He rolled really well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Because I did roll really well.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and re-roll that dice.
That's why this guy's in
12.
charge. I like this.
There it is again. 12 again. Oh, the dice are on my side, baby.
It's meant to be. Oh my
You're going
god.
down. Oh, you guys are going down. Oh my god.
That's okay. I've got another
Oh my
one.
god. You know what? It might
Let him
only be
have it.
Alan left, but you hear Alan over the comms, and you watch as those SRM-6s, they streak forward, like right out of the launch mechanism, streaking forward, and it's like, oh, it's a direct hit. It's a direct hit. And suddenly, his mech lurches like straight back. There's like a forward and then a back, and those SRM-6s just, you watch as dirt and grime starts to explode up and out of the ground. And over the comms, you hear, Lance Leader. Looks like Lance Leader. We're gonna do a little dancing today, and that is
That was a good dodge.
that is
How about the next one?
Alan giving you a little bit of sass, but I believe you have other weapons as well.
Yeah, another SRM-6.
Beautiful.
That's not as good.
7. All
Hopefully
right.
you're-
He's gonna go ahead and make his skill check. And okay, you said that's an SRM what?
It's another SRM-6.
SRM-6. You watch as those launch forward. He just quickly pivots forward and actually pivots his mech to look up in your direction. And I'm going to go ahead and spend another plot point to actually let him act out of initiative and go ahead and take his turn right now to fire back at Willow. And as he pivots the mech around, he looks over and he says, Lance mate's down. I'm the only one remaining. I've got this. And he's going to go ahead and shoot his weapons at you as well. So the way that this works in combat is that when you're being attacked or attacking someone, it's your mech gunnery, and then they get to roll to defend with their mech piloting. So you're actually going to be rolling a piloting check here to determine how good you're going to do in this moment. So he's going to go make his skill check. You got a 15 to hit you. Go
Ooh,
ahead and roll
that's-
to defend. 12. So I believe you've already spent your edge, so you don't have any edge left, correct?
Correct.
So that is a hit. We're going to go ahead and roll a hit location. He hits your right arm. And how many pips does Willow have on his right arm?
2.
2. So as he pivots his Raven backwards, SRM-6s strike the ground. Then engages the throttle forward. SRM-6s blow up the ground. There is smoke and grime and dirt. And actually the Raven disappears for a moment. And as the Raven disappears under this cloud of dirt, you can actually see the rocks starting to fall. You just barely make out the top. Now, Ravens have this kind of true beak on the front, and they have these they look like almost like reddish eyes in the Raven, like where the cockpit is. And you watch as it starts to fall, and then you see the telltale glow of 2 medium lasers start to lance out in your direction. And as you trying your best to pivot, you didn't expect it to come so fast. It strikes your right arm, shearing through it. You actually feel the heat as this green molten plasma, these lasers lance and actually shear off. How many pips does that right arm have? How many pips does it have, both internal and external?
2 each.
2 each. The entire arm is destroyed. It blows up, just completely gone. I'm actually going to go ahead and roll a critical hit chance for him. He rolled a 4. It's not a critical hit, but unfortunately, Willow, Lance Leader for Alpha Company, is out of the combat. You are technically dead in this moment. And over
Lance
the
Leader
comms-
down.
And over the comms, you would hear Lance Leader down, and then you would also hear Alan, 1 down, 3 to go. We're going to go back to the top of the round with the Valkyrie is up next.
So Lawrence is going to go, moving up to cover up the commander's position and look for survivors, but he's going to move up here and he's going to focus on how many, there's only 1 or 2 Ravens
There's
left?
1 left. So each of the Ravens
Okay.
has a little field icon on them. That means that they are out. They're still on the field, like they might block your path, etc. Just to give it a little bit of maybe tactile to it. You know, there's some things going on, but they are out of the fight. They're not allowed to engage you anymore.
All right, I'm going to engage the Raven with my medium lasers. Or medium laser, sorry. And let's see, that is going to be +5. Sweet team.
Oh, he rolls a 10. So you see this rubble going up. You watch as Lance Leader Willow, you watch as his right arm is completely melted, sheared off. Like the weapon system is gone as well. And as that's happening, are you jump jetting over Lawrence, or are you just running?
I'm just running.
You just run. So you go up and over the hill, down the crevice, and then right up this like steep incline up. And as you pop up and over, you can see the Raven. All of this dust is finally falling. It's almost happening simultaneously, but you get a perfect shot. Go ahead and roll a hit location on Alan's Raven.
I don't suppose I could spend a plot point to say that goes directly into the torso and melts through the remaining armor, because I know he's weakened already.
So here's what I'm going to say. Yes. Here's what I'm also going to say. I'd be angry if you didn't.
All right, perfect. So yeah, that's going to
go ahead and take that plot point from you.
Yep, that's going to be 2 damage to his.
Now, as you deal the 2 damage to his center torso, that does actually penetrate it. But I'm going to spend that plot point you just gave me because guess what? He has that SRM-6 that he hasn't fired yet. And simultaneously, as you see it, dust falling, he has pivoted to respond. And he's going to fire that SRM-6 at you. So go ahead and roll a check to defend. You're going to make that mech piloting check as well. You got a 15, though. That's pretty good. You got a 14! Oh, he's hitting you! He's hitting you right now. You've got an edge. Do you want to spend it? What do you want to do?
I will spend it to have him reroll it.
Okay. He's gonna reroll. That was a pretty good roll. Actually, you rolled really well. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh! So as he pivots, your medium lasers, twin linked, if I'm not mistaken, is twin linked medium lasers? Is that right?
No, it's just one medium laser.
Your medium laser lances out, striking a center torso, which had already been slightly damaged, burning a hole, boring a hole through the center. As it happens, you watch as the Raven's SRM-6s lance out towards you. You see these 6 missiles come towards you, and as it does so, you manage to pivot your medium laser to catch them mid-air, and there is this massive explosion in front of your mech that you can hear like bits of scrap metal and shrapnel kind of off the mech. You see your armor blink ever so slightly for a moment, but you take no sustainable damage. And as quickly as it started is as quickly as it ends. But I'm actually have you roll a critical hit chance because you did penetrate his center armor.
Okay. Critical chance.
11! Roll on that torso, baby. Roll that torso. You're going to go roll on the critical damage, and then you roll the torso.
Oh, God.
Oh,
God.
no!
Oh, my God.
Oh, no! Oh, my God! Okay.
You're going to cook off his ammo. Kill the poor bastard.
Here's what happens. You hear him say, oh, shit, over comms, and then you watch as the center of his mech, there is a tiny micro explosion, then another, and then from the top of the mech, you watch as their escape pod is launched. It's just this tiny little blue beam of light, and that entire mech explodes, its core sending shrapnel out. The mech next to him, actually as well, which is Helen's, starts to rock and falls over. It falls into the next mech, which falls into the next mech, and they all end up on their sides, prone. And you hear over the comms, you actually hear Alan saying, "You son of a bitch, you almost killed me." And with that, I'll leave the scene to you guys, but you have effectively won. You hear the sergeant over the comms, you just hear a, "Well done, MechWarriors. Well done." But
Willow is gonna say over comms, "Oh, you all look ridiculous."
there is some chatter back from Delta Company B. There's some chatter back from them. They're like, I told you we should have just stayed active. This whole hiding here in this ravine and not being powered up was an idiot move. I mean, they were bound to see us. Well, I mean, the freaking LRM-10s, they were supposed to be the distraction. They were to head directly towards them. We funneled them here. This would have worked if they hadn't gotten the jump up, and they're just going back and forth, and they're laying blame this way and that, this way and that. But I want to give you all a moment to really complete your mission, which is to go take the base. And in fact, you know what, Willow? I'm going to do a little retcon here. You were actually given a flag with Delta Company's symbol on it, which is really just the Federated Commonwealth symbol with a little Delta Company banner below it, but you were given a flag with that you are supposed to plant in the center of the pirate base to show that you have been victorious.
Well, Cyprian, come here, grab the flag. I'm technically dead, so can't really plant it myself. But Cyprian, I'm putting you in charge.
And
Cyprian will respond back over comms going, do you really want to pick me? Why not Lawrence or why don't pick me?
Listen, I can't help but think that if I put Lawrence in charge, his stiffy would destroy the rest of his armor and his torso.
This is better than what having your actual armor destroyed, and he'll just like meander over to head face towards the base, letting them decide who gets to carry the flag. He would love to carry the flag, but he's not going to force it.
Cyprian, don't worry. I think you'll be better at this than you think you are. Besides, Callum and Lawrence, they already know what they're doing. Being a good leader isn't about being the best. It's about knowing how to use the best.
He'll silently just, okay, and off he trots with the flag.
As you grab the flag. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Will.
Willow's gonna switch comms to talk to the sergeant in private. Says, well, it's worth a shot. We'll see what happens. I think Cyprian really needs the confidence boost at the very least.
The sergeant responds to you, and that kind of brashness that he had during his, info dump, where he's telling you exactly what you need to do in the mission briefing. You can hear the smile in the tone of his voice, and he simply states to you, "Good job, Willow. You wear the badge of command well."
Oh, thank you. I think I wear a lot of things well, if I do say so myself.
The comms cut off. But Cyprian, go ahead, Lawrence, please.
So Lawrence is just going to go over open comms and just as flatly as possible go, I just destroyed 5 million C-bills worth of Mech. Does that come out of my paycheck? I didn't mean to do that.
Over comms, you hear. Oh, go ahead, Callum. You have something to say.
You're getting paid?
I thought I was.
You're not getting paid? It's the only reason I'm here. It's for the paycheck.
We were in an academy. You don't get paid while you go to it, do you? Are the rest of you getting paid?
I thought we were still in a unit. I didn't know that. Are we technically in an academy?
You know what?
Group?
You are in an academy. You are in the academy of the Kentares IV, basically palace guards. This is like the entry into that, where you would be defending like the capital cities, things like that. Potentially going to border planets to deal with, pirates or maybe small insurrections, things like that. But you are part of the military proper of Kentares IV. Meaning you should be getting paid. Maybe Callum didn't enter in his W2. I don't know.
Well, it's his
W4,
loss.
excuse me.
Please, complete the mission. Go on without me. I'll be fine.
Glorious. Absolutely glorious. And we watch as Cyprian, I want you to describe how you take your mech into the base. There's an entrance really around the back side of it. And if you could just describe to us, how do you do it? It's actually a literal flag. Like, you had to climb out of your mech, Willow had to, toss it over to you so you could grab onto it. You jump back in your cockpit. You've got this little, extendable flagpole with it's a pretty big flag, maybe 6x4. It's a decent-sized big flag. But you're supposed to go plant it in the center of this base. There's actually a flagpole. There's just it's designed to look like a building, like an office building, but it's literally just concrete with painted windows on it. You can see some potholes in it and pot marks and things. And at the top of this, which is just at the top, where your cockpit would open, you could step out into it. There's literally a flagpole where you can plant it, like a little flag base.
So having the chatter about are you getting paid or anything, with his dad's military background, he'd know all of the different approximate grade banding levels of how much people get paid at different ranks. So he'd be just walking over, he'd come round this side of the building, and he'd be telling everybody, you know, well, you should have been, if you followed this piece of paperwork, then you should be getting this approximate rate, and just sort of moving off of conversation of anything to do with the combat action that's just happened and back into sort of matter of fact type things. And then, so where has he got to get to? About there.
Yeah, you see that like little like.
Oh, okay, yeah. So as he gets there, and he'll jump out and plonk, just stick the flag in, and then get straight back in and be very,
And
like, no pomp and circumstance
as
or
you
anything like that.
plant it, it actually doesn't quite go in. Like it's resisting. There's maybe some muck or grime. So I'm gonna have you roll a skill check here. I'm gonna have you roll a strength check. And that's just going to be, or if you have like any sort of like hand-to-hand combat, I would let you use that. You're actually fighting the like the little base for the flagpole. But I'm going to go ahead and set this skill check here really quick. Ooh, 11. Go for it. So if you don't have any sort of skills like hand-to-hand, 6. So you go to plant it, and as you go to plant it, Cyprian or Cyprian or Cyprian, am I saying it right?
Cyprian.
Cyprian, thank you, Cyprian. As you go to plant it, you actually go to stick it in the hole, and it like doesn't quite go in, and then it slips, and you stumble forward, and you drop the flag, and it rolls all the way to the edge. It kind of like bundles up on the pole itself, this extendable pole, and it gets just the edge, and it's just ever so slightly teetering on the edge. Ever so slightly teetering.
That flag looks wonderful waving up there.
He'll go and grab the, like, jump forward and grab the flag before it falls off.
2d6 plus reflex plus reflex. Oh! As he dives forward to grab the flag, your fingers just brush the flag. And as you can feel yourself grabbing onto just that little bit of fabric, we watch as the flag tumbles over the edge and just. Now, do you have any edge?
Yeah, I haven't spent any.
You also have plot points. You can spend a plot point here if you want to change the narrative a bit. It's entirely up to you.
I'm going to spend a point of edge and make you shake that dice back.
Yeah, that was an aggressively
ridiculously
high
well.
roll. That was an aggressively high. 8. So we watch as that flag, it's bundled up on itself, and actually the pole itself starts to tumble over the side, and you watch as the flag begins to unfurl as it's wrapped around this pole. And as it unfurls, we see Cyprian dive over the edge. Like, literally, there's a little handhold where there's maybe some, like the concrete's been broken. You grab onto it, like securing yourself, and then you lunge over the side and just grab the center of the pole. And as you pull it back, you're able to grab it with both hands. Maybe even give it a little wave. You can tell us what you do, but you've got it in your hands now. You've pulled yourself back up over the edge. Describe to us how you plant that flag.
He's just going to go and plant it in the hole, and then be on comms like, I told you not to pick me. Like, why did you pick me?
Is that flag up?
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah,
And he's
that's
gonna-
what I thought. That flag's up. He did it. We won.
And over the comms, we hear Sergeant. We hear the sergeant. We hear him state, Delta Company A, congratulations on a successful mission. You are to return to base immediately, help and assist any wounded mechs and mech pilots, and good fighting out there. Delta Company B, just get back to base. And then he cuts the comms. And as we watch the 4 of you, slightly damaged, but still functional, there's a smoldering crater where one of the ravens used to be. We'll figure out if that comes out of the paycheck or not, but there's this little smoldering crater there. We watch as the mech company heads off back towards the Delta Company base. And as you head off back towards a Delta Company base, I think that is actually a perfect point where we'll actually end today's session. But I want to thank you guys so much for playing along with me here today. I really like the system, and just hope you guys had a lot of fun as well. For the viewers at home, you will see these lovely gentlemen back here next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Session 2 of MechWarrior Destiny Salvaged Destiny. And in the meantime, as I always like to say, happy gaming. Any final thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns from the party?
Oh, it's
Yeah, I
good.
had a great time. Love everybody's
Good game.
characters.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys did absolutely fantastic. And again, thank you to everybody that watched. And we hope to see you back here next weekend for part 2. But be well, be safe, and we will talk to you guys very soon. Cheers, everybody.